What's going on, guys, and welcome to Season 6.5 side-by-side comparison of all the balance changes this season. And some of them are definitely head-scratching, to say the least. Looking at this POS over here getting his ult lowered for whatever reason, and others you kind of need a magnifying glass to see exactly what impact it's going to have. But some are so big that it might change the meta itself, and I think you know exactly who I'm talking about. Let's jump in. Okay, guys, let's go to kick off with the Vanguards, and we start with Doctor Strange, who's a little head-scratching why he got a nerf, and it'll make sense when we take a look at his team-up. Now, they'll be reducing his shield values recovery speed from 70 per second to 60 per second, and unless you're like a dedicated Doctor Strange main, I don't think you're going to see too big of a difference, but here it is right now. And in my opinion, I think they did this to compensate for the fact that he got an absolutely crazy team-up. Not only does his mouse drum do way more damage, and they've buffed this multiple times, but now it can pull in your enemies, as well as converting that damage into bonus health for Doctor Strange and his allies. In a single package, this now becomes one of the most lethal standalone abilities within the game. We move on to Rogue, and she's going to have a couple of changes, one of which will be reducing Fatal Attraction's cooldown from 17 seconds to 14 seconds. Again, this is going to give her access to another dash a little bit quicker, but also just give her more presence and overall value amongst the battle. Now, in addition to this, they also increase her defensive stance absorb damage energy conversion rate from 0.27 to 0.35. And although this is very small and hard to tell with the bot damage that is being done, get your magnifying glass out because you can see it's a little bit more damage there on the right side. But obviously in real battle, all the damage you absorb is going to be a little bit more of an impact within the battle. Even though he didn't get a direct buff, let's talk about the Thing getting a new team up with the Hulk, Gamma Charge, and access to the Gamma Gauntlets. Again, this is going to increase the range and damage of Stone Haymaker and Rocky Jab. On top of this, each hit is also going to be granting bonus health, and you can see exactly how much in the side-by-side. Again, if you somehow manage to get both of these big guys out there for the Vanguard, then the team up is pretty solid. I don't know how meta this is going to be. All right, guys, moving on to Thor, the God of Thunder, gets pretty interesting changes. Okay, first of all, his hammer throw is getting a new effect that his hits now grant 50 bonus health. That will only trigger once per throw. You can't hit it on multiple enemies. But to compensate for that, they'll be reducing the bonus health provided by his Storm Surge from 75 to 50. Now, I'm unsure if this is intended, but you can now get him up to 800 bonus health total instead of 750 if you do the dashes into that hammer throw. So we'll see if that sticks after into the live server. Now, again, it's kind of funny. The community is somewhat split if this is a buff or nerf. Obviously, Storm Surge is really good in kidnapping and getting that bonus health. But on one-on-ones and having the hammer throw and just the skill in general involved, getting 50 off the top is going to be nice as well. Either way, it does change his survivability a bit, but if he does indeed get 800 total health now, that's definitely going to be a nice buff. Now, in the Vanguard section, we end with Venom, and for whatever reason, they decided, you know what, let's give the symbiote even more health. They'll be increasing his base health from 650 up to 675, which with team-ups and everything involved, that is going to be 800 total health up to 825. And in addition to this, they'll be increasing the Feast of the Abyss, his ultimate ability. The damage to bonus health conversion is going to go from 100% of the damage done to 1.3 or 130%, which you can see is a pretty large chunk of health. Using Groot as the example, it's nearly 200. Now, from there, we're going to move on to the Duelist, and Deadpool is going to get a slight buff. They're going to increase the healing amount gained when releasing Pop Quiz, his ultimate ability, from 30 to 35 and 60 to 70 upon passing the challenge. Now, the last team up we have to talk about with the Duelist is Mr. Fantastic, and he now gets access to enlarge himself at any point with his flexibility, which I think is going to be insane, especially for the high skill ceiling Fantastics out there. Obviously, you used to have to wait for this to go all the way up. Now you can, pop it at any point. On top of, you can go past the 100 mark and get extra flexibility and then have it even longer. This is a complete W, and I kind of wish this wasn't even a team up. Love how these changes feel for Fantastic. Now, Moon Knight will be getting a small nerf to his overall survivability. They'll be reducing the bonus max health provided by his Moon Blade from 100 down to 75. Now, by some miracle, we do have Phoenix finally getting a nerf. The best DPS in the game will be having her base health reduced from 275 down to 250. So you dedicated Black Widow mains out there, all two of you, hit the Mantis boost and headshot this bitch. Psylocke is the next hero getting a buff and a nerf. Overall, I do think this is going to be a nice little buff in her neutral fights. her psionic crossbow damage fall off is going to get about a 10% damage boost at that 30-meter mark. And you can see in the side-by-side, it's a decent amount of damage. But to compensate, they will be reducing her ultimate abilities damage from 170 per slice to 160, which in this given example is taking one whole extra slice to get the elimination. Definitely over the course of the ult is going to see some impact. Now, typically when I see the ult charges, I don't do much to showcase the side-by-side, but I thought this was a cool way to look at how fast it does build up, and the Punisher is first up. They'll be reducing the energy cost of Final Judgment from 3,700 to 3,400. Now, by far the most questionable and what the F is going on, Star-Lord will be having a reduction in his ultimate from 3,400 down to 3,100. So yes, that means someone like Black Panther is going to take longer to get his ult than Star-Lord. If we're going to keep it a buck, guys, I actually think Star-Lord is one of the best DPS in the game, and this just makes him even better. Now, Squirrel Girl is going to have a slight increase to the projectile speed of her Squirrel Blockade when unleashing without charge from 20 meters per second to 30 meters per second, which in the side-by-side is a decent amount of time. Alrighty, guys, let's now talk about the biggest change most likely in this entire patch, and that'll be to Storm. Now, Storm's weather control is going to get a lot of new effects, starting with the Tornado, the Wind effect. When using Windblade and Bolt Rush under this aura, it's now going to grant Storm bonus health. Now, that damage conversion ratio is going to be 25% up to a max of 75 bonus health, really adding to her overall survivability. Storm can be pretty pesky to nail down, so now the better your aim and or movement, the longer you're going to survive, and you can build up before something like her ultimate. In addition to this, her Thunder new effect on this aura, the Windblade hits now reduce Bolt Rush's cooldown by half a second. Now, this is only going to happen once per enemy hit, not on multiple enemies, because this, attack does pierce. And in addition to this, it's going to increase Bolt Rush's spell field radius from 1 meter to 1.5. And this is the most obvious side-by-side example of holy shit. Now, again, get the magnifying glass out, but if you see here in the ally example of Jeff, when giving the Thunder or Lightning the speed up or damage up, ally buffs now decay over 2 seconds after leaving the aura instead of vanishing instantly. So you can see here that the Jeff is going to keep his damage up even when exiting Storm's aura. I think this is awesome, especially pushing the objective. If you don't know, I think Storm is really solid out the gate to fuel up momentum right away and something like a Moon Knight ult and get the pressure going. Now the Moon Knight can be in the aura, zip out, and quickly use the ultimate and still maintain a little bit of that damage up. However, to compensate, they will be reducing the damage boost for allies from 12% to 8%. And then lastly, this one you got to slow down by a ton, but you can barely see it. Her animation in lag when using weather control is going to be reduced. So you can see it's a little bit faster to swap in between speed or wind aura and thunder. Our next hero getting an ultimate reduction will be Wolverine, and it is a big one as he'll be having the energy cost of Last Stand go from 3,400 down to 2,800, and you can see this side by side just how much faster that really is. Wolverine, especially in high level play, is still very good, and I think that this is probably going to change by the time we get to Ignite season, because good God. And then lastly, guys, we end on the Strategists, and of course we got to talk about Adam Warlock. The wheelchair is now gone. He's a new ability, and I can't tell you how happy it makes me feel watching this absurd animation. But Adam can now enter flight mode at 10 meters per second for up to 4 seconds at full energy. Now, energy fully recharges from 0 to max in 15 seconds, so it does take a good amount of time to get back up to full. But guys, he is absolutely zooming here, and this is definitely going to change completely the way that Adam is played, not only offensively but defensively, and his entire honestly, Adam mains are just eating good. But wait, there's more. As the great Billy Mays would say, Soul Bond is going to get a new effect where Adam can now hover and attack during the ability's duration, which I think this is also nearly as good as the Fly, because you can just be in midair, throw down those headshots with his laser beam. And remember, the more headshots you get, the more reduction to cooldowns. You can heal more. I mean, Adam's legit now. Rest in peace, my friends, to the chair. All right, Invisible Woman is going to get a small nerf. They're going to increase the cooldown of Force Physics, her push and pull, from 8 seconds to 10 seconds. This is obviously one of the best abilities in the game that has an impact on many heroes like Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, dive heroes, and more. So I think this is actually going to be a nice little nerf. Now, a long time ago, they did buff Mystical Missile, the charge and ammunition for Loki, up to 12, but that is now going from 12 to 10, which obviously over the course of a match is going to be less healing and less damage and all the things that he does so good with his clones. So a small little hit to Loki, who I feel like is always in some way on these patch notes. And then last but not least, guys, we end with Ultron. And this, I mean, hey, listen, there'll be times this is going to matter, but they're going to be increasing his drone detach range from 30 meters to 35. So your flank heroes or yourself, if you have to go somewhere in the map and you do have those drones on, are going to last a little bit further depending on where you are. So there you guys have it. Fingers crossed that season 7 is much better in terms of shakeup and what we might see. And drop down below what you want to see down there. Subscribe if you haven't already. Until the next one, guys, happy rifling.